And now we're on the top of Tzadi Beis Amid Beis. Avol Shovat Beinunis Dekavasei. But in event that Levi, although he purchased Beinunis, he made sure to leave another field of Beinunis in the hands of the Mocher, in the hands of Shimon, then the Baal Chov has no recourse to collect the Beinunis that Levi purchased from Shimon, because Motzi Omale, once again, Levi could say, I deliberately left Karka Beinunis in the possession of the seller of Shimon, so that now you can collect that Beinunis from Shimon, who purchased that Karka from Reuven. Or Abai, Reuven shemochar sodul Shimon b'achrayus. So once again, Reuven sells a piece of property to Shimon, and he accepts upon himself a monetary obligation that in the event that that karka is confiscated from Shimon, he, Reuven, the seller, would be mafatze Shimon, meaning he would return the monies that were paid by Shimon to purchase that field. The also Baal Chov de Reuven, and in fact, Reuven had borrowed money from so-and-so, and that malva now comes to collect that chov, the katarf lemineh. Okay, this seems like a straightforward case of mechira b'achrayus, that if Reuven had an outstanding loan, there was a shibud on this karka, he sold the karka to Shimon b'achrayus, and Reuven's Baal Chov now came and confiscated that karka. Obviously, Reuven would have to pay up and return the monies that he received in payment for that karka, because he accepted achrayus when he sold the karka. Does Reuven have the option of coming to the Baal Chov and saying to the Baal Chov, you know what? You have no rights to come and take this karka from Shimon the buyer, who's going to now bounce back and demand his repayment of the monies, because I already paid you up that chov. And in a case where the lover claims to the malva, I already paid you up, the malva is going to have to take a shmua to support his claim. Let's say he has a shtar, for example. Or Rashi gives another option, another scenario. Let's say Reuven says to his Baal Chov that you had owed me money from a different chov, and therefore this chov covers that chov. It's what we call, in modern Hebrew, they call it lekazez. One debt cancels and nullifies the other debt. Bottom line is, Reuven, the seller, is now engaging in a din Torah, so to speak, a tviyah against the Baal Chov, when the real Bezdin, the real court case, is between the Baal Chov and Shimon. Because Reuven has no karka in his possession. He sold the karka to Shimon b'achrayus, and now the Baal Chov is coming to collect that shibud from the karka of Shimon. If Shimon has a claim to undermine and nullify that chov, let Shimon come along and nullify the chov. But Reuven is a lav bal dvarim didiak. The Baal Chov could say to Reuven, you're out of the picture now. You already sold all your property. Shimon is now on the firing line as per the law of Shimon, because he bought a karka mishubedet. So I'm dealing with Shimon. I'm not dealing with you, Reuven. You want to set up a claim that would force me to take a shvuah? You're not a Valdover. You have no claim over you. And the Gemara says no. Reuven is still considered a Valdover. Dinahu the Ozil Reuven Mefatzil. Now here the word Mefatzil takes on a little bit of a broader meaning. And in truth, there is another girsa, which we don't have in our text, that says Dinahu the Ozil Reuven. But in any event, whatever it is, even if we have our girsa, the meaning of this dinu diazul Ruven is that Ruven has a right to put forth a taina against the Balchov. The Balchov cannot say to Ruven, La Balchov Didiat, you don't have any rights in Bezdin to put forth any claim because you already sold the property. And now the Gemara is going to look for an explanation of Abaye as to why the seller, Reuven, is considered a baldover against his balchov after he had already sold the car. But before we get to the Gemara's explanation, I want to point out that Rabbi Akiva Eiger has a very simple explanation. He doesn't understand why the Gemara feels compelled to justify and offer a logic that underlies Abaye's principle. Says Rabbi Akiva Eiger, it's partial that Reuven is considered a baldover. Why? Because what is the halacha that the balchov of Reuven has rights and recourse to collect the karka from the lokeach after the lova sold the property to lokeach? It's based on the principle that nechasim debirei adam arevim v'achroim, that the nechasim themselves are, so to speak, responsible for the chov of the violent. Otherwise, we make absolutely no sense out of the entire concept of Shimon. Why does the Baal Chov have a right to come to Shimon? The answer is he has a right to come to Shimon because he's claiming the chov of Reuven. Shimon is only paying up, so to speak, Reuven's chov because Shimon bought a karka that had a shibud on it. In any event, Rabbi Akiva Eiger asks this kasha, it's a bomb kasha of Rabbi Akiva Eiger. The Gemara offers a different explanation. The Gemara says, we should be Amar Le, Reuven has a right to say the Balchov, the mafkit minei olai hoda. I sold this karka bi'achrayus. If you're going to confiscate the karka based on your claim that I owe you money, then the buyer, Shimon, is going to come back to me and I have to cough up his money and reimburse him for the money that he paid because I sold it to Bachrayus. I'm a baldover over here. I don't want Shimon to have to come with a claim against me and I have to cough up and pay that chov. So therefore, I'm claiming that chov that you claim that I owe you, I paid you up that chov, or you had another chov that canceled this chov. Ika diamri, afilu shalo b'achrayus na. We have another version in the transmission of Abaye's ruling that goes even a step further. That Reuven is a baldover, and he could put a claim against the Balchov who's coming to confiscate the property from Shimon the buyer, and Reuven could do so even if he never accepted it upon himself achrayus. Not the way you said it, because once there's achrayus, he, the seller, Reuven, will have to go back and reimburse the money. Forget about all that. Why? Meaning, if somebody sells a property and he doesn't take achrayus, although the buyer has no recourse to reclaim the money that he paid for that karka, al pi din, according to the strict letter of the law, because there was no achrayus, but nevertheless is taromas. And taromas means, hey, you know what? Basically, I paid up your chov. You should reimburse me for paying up my chov. And that's taromas. That's an erev Yom Kippur halacha. And therefore, that's enough, according to the Ika Diamri, to set up the seller, Reuven, as a balchov, as a baldover, as a baldin. And therefore, there's no right on the part of the malveh, or the balchov, to say to Reuven, la balvarm didia. The Omar Abaye, I just want to see if we can quickly get to the Mishnah, or we said we'd finish by 8:15. Omar Abaye, Reuven shemochar sodu l'shim shelo b'achrayus, v'yotza olav asikin. Asikin are orerim. So the rumor now goes out that Reuven sold someone else's property. He had no right to sell that property. So the Gemara says one thing is simple, beyond question. Shimon could back out of the deal as long as the deal wasn't clinched with a kinyan on the karka. No, there's the very fact that Shimon agreed to pay money, that's not enough. he hasn't yet made a chazaka, and the Gemara is going to tell us exactly what a chazaka is, then the deal is not sealed, and Shimon is going to say, Mekatol. So although I committed myself to buy this field, little did I know that there are rumors going around that this field is not yours to sell. But if Shimon already clinched the deal with the chazaka, he can't back out of the deal. And why is this? Because Reuven had sold the field to Shimon shelo b'achrayus. What is the implication? The implication is, listen, Shimon, you want to buy my karka? Check it out. Find out if there are any outstanding liens on this karka. If there are, you're putting your money in jeopardy here. It's like throwing it to the wind, because you have no recourse to come back to me as your seller because I'm selling to shelo b'achrayus. Get the message through your brain, Shimon. Understand that the responsibility is now on your shoulders to check out the history of this karka and see if this sale is a valid sale, etc., etc. Mishum the Amalei, Reuven the seller says to Shimon the buyer, Chayta the kitri savers the kibbutz. I sold you in this proverbial mashal a small bag that's full of ties, and it's like a jack in the box. You remember the old jack in the box? You know, we used to buy this popcorn that was sugar coated in order to get to that little prize inside, which is worth a fraction of what you paid for the Cracker Jacks. But in any event, I sold you a bag that's closed. You can't see what's in it, but it's got many different ksharim, ties on it. Open up one of the ties and take a look what's inside. And if you don't have the time or the patience or the effort to do so, then you're buying what might be a bag full of air. And since you didn't check out the karka that I sold you, which you could have easily done, then you accepted upon yourself that, shall we say, that jeopardy that maybe there is someone who's going to come and rip this karka out of your hands. Now the Gemara on the side asks, what would constitute a chazaka such that Shimon could no longer back out of the deal, even though Yotzalem Orin, which means that he sets up fences around the boundaries of the field. And once he's misake in the gvulas of the soda, and he puts up these boundaries, that itself indicates that the sale and the kinyan is final. Ika the Amri. Others say, and they have a different transmission of this second statement of Abaye, Afilu b'achrayus nam. Even if Reuven sold the field to Shimon and he accepted on himself achrayus, Shimon could not have recourse to get back his money, even though Yotzaleh Orin, because Shimon had already made a chazaka. And here Rashi adds the following comment: Ein b'efshara Shimon lahachzik b'shuso es hamos shel hamekach ad sheyizbarem hakarka nishra b'shuso. The Amar Lei will explain this in a second. Reuven says to Shimon, now the Orin are claiming that this karka wasn't mine to sell, but you made a chazak on the karka. The karka is now in your possession. You have an obligation to pay me the monies of the karka, and you don't have a right to say that Shimon the Mocher, the Lokech, doesn't have a right to say, you know what, I'm going to withhold the payment for this karka because let's see what happens with this Orin. And I'm afraid that they're going to rip this karka out of my hands. Why should I pay him for this karka? But the answer is, according to the Ikadiyami, once the Lokech already implemented his kinyan, then he has an absolute unconditional responsibility to pay up for that kinyan. Now, if Shimon wants to exercise the achrayus and come back to Reuven and say, well, you know what, you owe me the damim for this karka, so then Reuven has a right to say to Shimon, Achvei tirfa, v'ashalim lecha, you're right. I will pay you back any monies, but only on condition that you have a tirfa. Tirfa is a shtar that says that this karka that was purchased is now going to be taken out of the hands of the buyer and given over to someone else. If you come forward with the shtar tirfa, ashalim lecha, then I'll pay you. And Rashi adds a few words of explanation here. Rashi says that as long as you, Shimon, the buyer, do not have a shtar tirfa, then you know what? It could be there are many orim, and this is common. People spread all sorts of rumors. But at the end of the day, your karka will not be confiscated. So I'm not going to pay you achrayus until the point that the karka is actually confiscated from you. When you could produce a shtar to that effect, signed with 3 dayanim in Beis Din, that the Orin were able successfully to rip the karka and confiscate from your possession, then I'll repay you. But until that point, you owe me the money for this sale. You already made a kinyan chazak on the sale, and that's the. This brings us to the Mishnah here on Daf Sadi Gimel. Okay, then, did I live up to my commitment? So, Mirza Hashem, I hope you'll have plenty of time to take care of all the responsibilities and the day in front of you.
It's all good. Shkaya.
Thank you so much.